Like Tiger on a Sunday.
That's it, man. That is it. 3, 2, 1. Let's see if it works. See if I did it. First time. Thinking about it.
Come on. Come on.
Thinking about it. There we go.
Yahtzee.
Perfect. All right. Tiger Red, man.
Going for the win today or what? What's going on?
Well, first I got that whack energy going.
Hey, fucking samesies.
I will explain that further. Call it foreshadowing, for lack of a better term. How about that? No, man, incredible week. I would say, dare I say, should I say, best week I've had all year. I mean, it's just that it's that good. It's that good vibes this week.
What a fucking statement.
It's, and I wanted to say it just to document it. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 projects, counting today. So Blueberry Faygo goes in the can today for the first time ever. So that's a big one. And then we have, I posted it on my Facebook. I'm not sure if you saw it. We have Lyrical Lemonade about to happen, watermelon style.
Yep.
There we are. So that's happening. A couple more that I'm not quite ready to announce, but man, just good vibes, man. Just it's funny that I know I usually ask a question to start, but I got to tell a quick story. I get these little lulls in my energy. I would say once every 2 months, this happens to me. And I get this little lull of energy. I was really weak, like physically weak last week. And my workouts weren't going well. I was going to bed super early, which that wasn't a bad thing or anything like that. But and every time that happens, when I don't have a ton of energy, I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and he was like, it's almost like you're storing energy because the following week is just going to be enormous. I mean, just really freaking big. And that's what happened this week. And it was from every morning, every day this week, from 6 a.m. to, and I usually don't do this, but I did it this week. I worked probably until 9:30 or 10 o'clock every day this week. And I'm not talking like checking emails or like phone calls till 9:30 at night, like that kind of energy. And last week, and I went to go back and look at it, and I was almost like last week, I was like, wait a minute. Is there a downturn happening? Like, you and I have talked about like the roaring 20s that are just about in front of us. Like it almost felt like a slight downturn at the end of last week. And I'm like, whoa, what's happening? And that's really all it was. It was my body just like storing energy to just fire out of the box. I didn't sleep an hour Sunday night because I couldn't wait for my alarm to go off at 5:30 Monday morning. Like that was the vibe that I had. I watched the Masters. I did the whole thing. I got the shrimp out for my grandmother. Like I did the whole thing. And I was just so ready to rip this week because I knew what was on the agenda. And it was just incredible to have this feeling. So, yeah, man, riding high. I don't even have a question. Like, that's just what happened in my life right now.
It's like you're just hibernating energy last week, storing up.
Do you go through that at all? Does that ever happen to you?
I do a little bit of the opposite. I don't really have the foresight to kind of do that. I just kind of, we talked about a lot on the show. I almost have to force myself to slow down.
Yeah.
like as it's happening. Because if I don't, I just go and then,
Yeah.
eventually you're gonna, overheat or burn out or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up because we were just talking about it today. Dave was sitting up here and like it's just happening. It's just, I mean, call it converting, call it manifesting, whatever you believe in, how good things enter your life. Like it's just happening. We made a conscious decision, tail end of 2019 that we put in motion the beginning of 2020. And then, COVID happened. But now this stuff's getting back. We're like, hey, we don't want to be the social media guys. We want to be the marketing guys. And, he looked and, we were working on LinkedIn for one client in January. Now it's 7. And you just physically seeing that. It's something as small as that little column on the left hand side of your feed that you're used to seeing, 2 pages there, and then 4, and then 7. And we know what's coming up on the back end of that. So it's just kind of just actually seeing, your work pay off into, real life success in terms of, the number of people that you're working with, in terms of the kind of people you're working with, and the scale, and everything that comes with that, all the, like, if you could see my conference room right now, it's a nightmare because we're literally doing a full, I mean, not even rebrand, just rebuilding almost, for a client, from logos to packaging to how we sell it, everything. And it's just fucking cool, and I've talked with you a lot on the show and off the show about how we're doing a lot more consulting stuff, and just the realization that, we have enough knowledge and expertise and, you know, vision that somebody will literally pay us for our time.
Mhm.
I sat here and I stared at a client's Trello board for like 45 minutes yesterday. And I'm like, because I kept writing out shit we were going to do. And I'm like, no, you're not doing anything. You literally are just telling them. So it's wild to me, man. And I don't know. And then just doing some of the stuff that you have going on that you can't talk about yet. It's just not even validating, because I think that we always believed it and we always knew it, but it's just fucking fun.
Mhm. Yep. It's so much fun. I talked to an old friend last week, and I put a post on LinkedIn. Speaking of LinkedIn, I put a post on LinkedIn last week. I'm not sure if you saw it or not. And I said, I go, here's what's happening in my life right now. I said, I have more business than I know what to do with. I said, and I don't have the infrastructure in terms of my network to support all of this business. Here's what I'm looking for. I literally just came out of the box and I told my network, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for flavor formulators, co-packers, packaging people, distribution, direct to consumer, investors, artists. I'm looking for brands that want to partner with artists, all this stuff. I got no less than a dozen DMs from people. Hey, this is Jimmy from Gamer Packaging. Would love to sync up with you. Hey, this is a distributor in Boise, Idaho. Would love to hook up with you. Hey, this is so and so. Blah 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 blah. And I get a phone call from a girl I went to high school with. Her name's Jessica. Well, she was Jessica Richmond. Now she's Jessica Sargis. And she was she was probably one of my best friends from the time I was like 6 until I was like 12. We were just inseparable. And she sends me a message on LinkedIn. She goes, hey, I'm working with this company that literally does what you do. We sync up artists with brands and we put deals together. And she goes, do you mind if I call you? I go, no. So last Friday, a week ago today, I talked to one of my childhood best friends for the first time in neither one of us has gone to a reunion. Well, I went to a reunion once, but we haven't been together in the same room in probably 25 years. And just to hear her voice, and she's like, what else is going on in your life? I don't think she's on Facebook or anything anymore. And I go, what are you doing? And so I told her about Paige and how she wants to get into movies and how she's like creating music and playing piano and all that stuff. And she goes, what kind of stuff is she into? And I said, She loves. She's taking us through the entire Marvel catalog of movies. So we're like starting from like the original Captain America all the way to like Avengers Endgame. I had no idea there was like 20 movies in between. You know, I'm clueless. But she's determined that that's what she wants to do in her life. She wants to create like movie soundtracks for like Marvel. I'm like, pretty freaking cool. So Jessica calls me last week and I go, how long have you been with your current company? And she goes, oh, I've only been here 2 years. Before that, she's an attorney. She goes, I was lead attorney for Marvel Studios in LA. I was like, it's just the serendipity of it all. You know, it's so freaking wild to me that the point of my entire story is just let people know. People have so much going on in their lives. They don't know or care about what you want or need. They don't know. Like, unless we talk on like a weekly basis, I have about 15 to 20 people I talk to on a weekly basis. I know what's going on in their life. I know everything that's happening. You know, some of them pay me to talk. Some of them don't pay me to talk, and that's whatever. But if you don't constantly let people know what, you know, we talk about this all the time, the 5 pillars. What are the 5 pillars that are important in your life, both personally and professionally? And for her, it was networking professionally. But she said herself, she goes, anybody you want to get in touch with Marvel, I'll get Paige in contact with you. No problem. It's like, if I didn't write that LinkedIn post, I would never have reconnected with Jessica, who I would never have known anybody who works at Marvel to potentially help my kid in her career path. So to me, I know me more than anybody, I do a lot of talking, but sometimes you just have to talk and put yourself out there and let people know what you're into so that people can come back to you, and it comes back in spades. That's the point of my story.
Well, we did a show 3 or 4 months ago. We literally titled it "Nobody Ever Said Yes Without Being Asked."
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's something that everybody, including people like you and I that do this for a living, even us, we need to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
You know, we have a client now that we just got them started, like really going on LinkedIn and doing just that. Mm-hmm. And I kid you not, the amount of business that they've already gotten in, say, 6 weeks of really being intentional with what they're doing and just reaching out and just genuinely connecting. And I don't mean copying and pasting the same, hey, your profile came across my feed and looked at, like, go fuck yourself. That's not connecting. I mean, genuinely connecting on a human level with these people. It's wild.
Yeah.
Like, Dave will tell me, like, oh yeah, so-and-so got a new B2B client. I'm like, you told me yesterday. He's like, no, it's a different one. And then like 2 days later, he's like, yeah, another new B2B client. I'm like, dude, you told me. He's like, no, it's a different one. And it's just crazy, man. Like, people just don't understand. I'm gonna be careful how I word this.
Which you've never done before. Go ahead and start now.
We, for whatever reason, be it the news, be it your circle of people, be it political views one way or the other, I think a lot of times we're trapped into believing that nobody gives a fuck about you or what you want or your feelings, and everybody's out for themselves and nobody cares about helping anybody else with anything.
No.
Because negativity sells faster than positivity in the news world. Mm-hmm. What people lose sight of is that 90% of people would love to help you with anything. You know, that's a great example. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, one of the reasons that exists in the world is because stuff like this show, you know, you put so much positivity and you put so much good shit out into the world. I mean, we've talked about it a dozen times. I have 5 paying clients in our roster right now that are paying clients because we help them out for nothing. Yep. for years. We went above and beyond. They asked, we did it. Did we make money on it? No. You know, did we plan on making money on it? No. But, you know, when that comes up and, you know, we put it out there or whatever, like fucking gratitude reciprocates, man.
Yep.
You know, and I think that for as much as, not to put anybody on blast, but certain people will look at you and what you do and me and what I do, and they'll be like, oh, it's just Ben being his overly positive, motivational, hippy dippy bullshit again, you know? But like, this is a great example. Like, it fucking works.
It does.
You know, and you wouldn't have gotten those 12 DMs if you weren't you. You know, if you were the person that was just spamming everybody's LinkedIn inbox with a quote unquote custom message that you copy and paste for everybody, you wouldn't have got that. You know, but the fact that you are who you are, and you genuinely connect with people, and you celebrate their success, and you try to help them before you ask for them to help you. Like, again, like we said it before, like it's kindergarten 101.
Yep. You know, and I'll piggyback on that in that I can't say the names in the story, but I'll tell another quick story. When I first started working with celebrity brands or, you know, whatever.
Like how you put celebrity in quotes, like they're not actual celebrities. Like
some are, but some wanna be. No, I'm just kidding. It's just bizarre, the world that I'm living in. Like if you had told me, like, when you met me, what, 7 years ago, we were standing in the back of a 54-degree warehouse. Like if you had told me this is what I was doing, I'd look at you like you had three heads. But when I took my first celebrity deal, I purposely did not squeeze as much money out of that deal as possible. And trust me, I wanted to. I probably could have negotiated a better deal. But I saw the long-term effects of getting that deal done. And I was having exact same conversation last night. I was on with one of my clients and his attorney. And like, we're coming out of a box, we're about ready to announce an enormous collaboration for my client. I'm actually bringing two clients together, which I'm really freaking excited about. And when it happens, I will definitely talk about it. But we were on the phone last night. I was right over here. I was making dinner when we were on a Zoom. It was a late call. And I told my client, he goes, oh, no, I need the IP. I need to hold everything. He was playing Hungry Hippos. He wanted everything. This, I want IP. I want this. I want a bigger cut of the margins. I want this. And both the attorney and I said, wait a minute, don't try to squeeze every single dime out of this first deal. And that's when I went back, and ironically, it was the exact same client that I'm bringing together that I negotiated a lesser deal with 2.5 years ago. And he goes, why did you do that? I said, the reason I did that is because it means so much more when you have one win under your belt. Like with you, with LinkedIn, with your first LinkedIn client, you may not have negotiated the best deal. You just wanted to have a client that was doing LinkedIn with you, so you could point to that client and say, look what I'm doing with Bob. I'm kicking ass and taking names on Bob's LinkedIn over there or whatever. So I told him that story. I said, the reason I negotiated a lesser deal, a deal I wouldn't even look at these days, but I said it's because it opened up all the other doors. So literally when I introduced myself to new clients, I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm the guy that did that brand. And they go, oh, okay, send me a contract. So for you with LinkedIn, have you ever done that before? Have you ever cut a lesser deal to get into a new initiative or something like that?
All the time.
Yeah.
You know, that's our entire, not business model, but revenue model is built on it.
Yeah.
You know, constantly having one thing to step up on, where I'm just a big believer in putting our money where our mouth is, you know,
Yep.
and if we get in and we deliver, like we just know it's fucking over.
Mhm.
And like we see it now. We probably talked about it. I can think of two clients right now where, I mean, we, and like, don't get me wrong, we're at a point like where we're doing okay on revenue on deals. So it's not like we're like giving everything away, but like, will I take a deal at 1,300 a month versus 1,750 if it gets me, if it's with a market leader in a brand new industry that's growing incredibly fast?
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's a fucking no brainer, dude. Like that extra $400 a month, like could I have, like you're saying, held a harder line and really pushed for it and delayed getting started by a week at a crucial time to squeeze an extra 300 some dollars a month out of it? Sure.
No.
How valuable is that $300 going to be at the end of the year? You know, versus how, now I have to be really careful. How valuable is it going to be getting into this industry with this client at this time?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, slightly more than $300
Mm-hmm.
on both a financial aspect, a strategic aspect, and just like a life happiness aspect. And we don't talk about that enough. Like this client, like he's one of my guys.
Yep.
We talked about it with Aaron a couple of weeks ago. Like he's one of my guys. Like
Yep.
we see the world very similarly. You know, it's why, you know, we almost got started before we did all of the paperwork because we look at things very same. Where he's like, "Hey man, like what would it cost to do this?" And I'm like, "Well, this is like what I have it in the proposal." He's like, "Do you think we could do this at this amount?" I'm like, "Fuck it, yeah, man, let's go." And we're like, "Okay, wait, you know." But like, I mean, to answer your question, yeah, like it's such a no brainer
Yep.
when you actually look at it from a practical level. And there are people that, you know, if they, you know, they'll wait an extra week to get, you know, 1790 instead of 1750 out of a deal. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
Because even if you go in and you do a great job and you deliver, you're still that guy that put an extra $40 a month ahead of getting to work.
Yep.
And like that just, you know, they may not hold it against you, but they won't forget that either. You know, and that's just, I don't know. It's such a big part of it, you know, especially for who we are in the DNA of this place. You know, I can't be the, hey man, we're on the team, your success is our success kind of guy. And like, oh, by the way, like, yeah, that extra $40 a month, like we need that.
Yeah.
Like go
Exactly. No, it's so important. I was you know, that's why I thought this was important for today, is that this brand doesn't happen. Blueberry Fago doesn't happen unless I took a haircut on that first deal 2.5 years ago. These are literally the same guy that introduced me to that brand 2.5 years ago was literally the same guy that introduced me to these guys. And that's why this deal got done. And, you know, I was talking to a couple in Buffalo Tuesday night. The whole week's been a blur. Tuesday night, it was late, like 9:30 is when I took my call, and they want to get into the better for you smoothie business, and they're going to be targeting people that literally cannot sit down to have a lunch to when they're working, you know, AKA my wife at the hospital.
Yep.
I told her, I said, if you could simply target nurses for your thing, so it would be like a it'd be like a delivery service, like which one do we get? We get like Fresh Direct or whatever, Hello Fresh or whatever this thing's called.
Yep.
It would be so basically it'd be like this, but you'd get it delivered to your door every Sunday, no, every Saturday, and it would have all of the shakes, or the, excuse me, not the shakes, the smoothies. It would have all the smoothies lined up for the entire week. So it'd say, here's breakfast, here's lunch. So it'd be like a 12-ounce smoothie. Here's what's in it, all good for you, carry you through the rest of the day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we get down to, you know, the compensation part of the agreement, which, you know, of course, is everybody's favorite. It's always so funny. There's always like the elephant in the room that it's like everybody's all hunky-dory for the first 95% of the conversation. Then it's like, okay, so what's it going to cost me, right? So I get down to it, and she goes, all right, so what's the agreement? I said, I go through kind of my structure, and I said, here's the range that I'm kind of looking for. And she's like, oh, okay, well, maybe we can negotiate that. I go, you know what? Listen, this is what I tell people. I said, I like to come on to teams to solve problems, not create problems. I said, I only come onto a team if it works in your budget. I said, if we can't fit that in there, then I don't want you to get up at 3:00 in the morning, use the restroom, and be like, oh my gosh, I got to pay Ben tomorrow and I can't afford it. I don't ever want that to happen. I go, you text me at 3:00 in the morning. I won't see it until 5:30 to say, hey, do you mind if we pause for, or, do you mind if I defer this for a month? The answer will always be yes. So to your point, you don't twist the knife for an extra $40. You don't twist the knife for an extra $200. People have different ways about doing it. But for me, I'd much rather give that release of steam to my client, to always know when they're in the background to say, man, yes, I want to make sure that Ben is taken care of. But if I can't afford it, or I have to go buy a piece of equipment, or I have to pay a designer, or have to pay an attorney this month, I can go back to him and say, hey, let's defer for a month so I can go pay this attorney. To your point, it just comes back to you in spades. Like when I go back and ask for that person for a referral, that person's going to give me a glowing referral to say, yeah, Ben's, not only is he good at what he does, but he's also a good guy. Like, that's what I want to be known for, So for me, it's just to illustrate your point is, I just think it's so much more important to be known like that, because guess what? The business will come, because they're going to refer you first because of the personal relationship you have with that client, over, Joe Blow marketing agency down here, and the guy's a jerk down the road. I'd much rather be known for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And we went through it. We had an onboarding meeting probably 2 weeks ago, and they almost stopped, because we're very, very, if there's one thing that we're pushing on, it's establishing what we're going to be held accountable for.
Yeah.
And I think these guys were a little rattled, because they were talking about, bigger goals and benchmarks that they get from kind of their national brand. And I'm like, okay, cool. What does that look like? They're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, when we're sitting here 6 months from now, what needs to happen for you guys to be like, shit, all right, yeah, I'm glad we're doing this. Like, let's fucking go, baby.
Yep.
And they couldn't articulate that. And, and we talked through it for probably about 10 or 15 minutes. And I could tell exactly what was happening. No marketing or advertising person has ever had that conversation with them.
Right.
It was all about, here's how great we are. Here's the things we can do. Here's all the other clients we work with. Here's how much they love. All about me, 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 me. And just the mere fact that we were like, yeah, that we got that, no problem. But like, what do you guys need here? What needs to happen? And then, like, obviously, like, there's a very obvious, product that they sell. And like, well, obviously we probably look at sales. I'm like, great. How much? Is it selling one more unit? Is it selling 100 more units? Like, is it, like, let's talk about it, because I want to have an idea of how we're doing.
Right.
And then the other thing is that the one big thing that I think that we've learned, especially over the last, call it 2 years here, is that everybody's definition of everything is different. Somebody saying that, we don't have a huge marketing budget could be $10,000 a month. Right. Some people saying, yeah, we're willing to spend money on Facebook ads might mean going from $100 to $200 a month. Everybody's definition is just so different, and the value is so different. You talk about like a car dealership, if they sell 10 more units, above average, that's a significant amount of revenue hitting the bottom line. If it's Nurchi's Pizza selling 10 more pizzas, great, man. Like, that's awesome. But, those, 10 more of whatever are going to be looked at in pretty different lenses. Mm-hmm. And I think just, showing that you give a shit about having an understanding of that up front makes all the difference. And just the mere fact that I always say, well, like step one is obviously, we got to increase sales by at least what you're investing in us every month for this to even remotely make sense. And it's crazy just acknowledging the fact that like, hey man, like I understand that check that you're writing us is significant. And just having that be the first conversation, it changes the entire vibe of the room. Because I think, especially in what we do, most people sitting in our chairs is literally walking in there trying to convince you that we're a good idea, right? They're trying to say, hey, here's all the reasons why this could work. And ours is much more just, what do we have to do to make it work? Like nuancy stuff, but just having that level of openness and transparency, like to your point, you're having that partnership conversation. And, every salesperson in the world uses that word. Very few live it. So I think that's, it's why I love working on people with you, because we have very similar mindsets and approaches in that way. Where, I mean, we have one this week, we're calling a little bit of an audible for what our plan was, okay. Shit happens, we could freak out about it and, curse out people that, may or may not have done a great job communicating and explaining stuff. But what's that going to do for us? Jack shit. Okay, great. How do we fix it? And like we left that where we literally had I know that I'm a little bit of a masochist business wise. Where like this shit excites me. This is fun. When stuff doesn't go immediately according to plan and then going out, it's like I like that. But it's the mere fact that we're like, we all said, yep, yeah, that doesn't really jive with our brand or our plan at all, but it makes sense. All right, cool, let's go. And it just, so I think just being willing to, and then we would never be able to have that conversation if we hadn't had the 30 conversations before it.
Correct.
Where we knew what the brand was, we knew what the plan was, we knew everything. Fuck your plan though. Plans, So I think that that's kind of something that's really undervalued. Having that level of transparency and just problem solving. Like we could have sat in that call and you could have come up with 15 excuses why something didn't happen. What's it going to do? Nothing.
It would have kicked the can down the road is what it would have done. It would have been like, it could have, I mean, not to be overly dramatic or anything, like you and I don't talk about this brand very much because we get a lot done on our phone calls, and you and I are doing a lot in between the phone calls, our weekly phone calls. Like I was, and you could tell, because you know me this well, like I was kind of shitting a brick yesterday. Like I was like, ooh, like for him to reach out in between phone calls and be like, Ben, this is not going well. Like for him to say the wind is out of my sails, which is verbatim what he told me yesterday, this week. I was like, whoa. I pumped the brakes, and I was like, wait a minute. So that's when I got in that's when I pinged you quick. And I was like, hey man, we gotta strategize here. And I was like, hey, what about this? And you're like, I don't know if that works or not. And it's like, did I say Vermont? I meant Florida, right? So but we just talked through it, and we confidently got back on that phone call yesterday. And I was like, listen, that's why you hear me say it all the time. I am there to present options for people. It's not my idea. It's not my thing it's not my thing to, sorry, that's me. It's not my job to decide for somebody. Some clients I do. It's my job to bring up options for people, give you my strong opinion as an industry professional, then let them decide. That's what my job is. So that's what we did yesterday on that phone call. It's like, listen, we have 3 buckets we can spend time, money, and resource on. How much time, resource, and money do you want to be spending on each one of those buckets? And it allowed him to analyze the situation. And it's amazing to me that we always get it done in like 25 minutes with him every single week. Because he doesn't hem and haw. He doesn't twiddle the thumbs like we talked about. He surveys the situation and then he just goes. He goes. And it's just, that's what I love about that, is that if I have something to say, I'm going to say it. You know this about me. And the reason I'm going to say it is because that's when the anxiety gets built up, is when people speculate.
Yep.
And this is what I tell people when I onboard. I go, this is not all going to be, peaches and rainbows. We are going to hit our head hard on a concrete surface at some point. And that's what happened this week with that brand. It happens with all the brands. Guess what? This is not an easy thing to do. But when we do hit the concrete wall, I'm going to be right there next to you saying, oh, by the way, there's a concrete wall heading for us at 900 miles an hour. Here's what we can do to avert the concrete wall. Can I make the decision for him? No. And sometimes we hit the wall together, but then we rebound. My point is, it's all about trust. It's all about letting your partners know, number one, here's how I've avoided concrete walls in the past. Here's a concrete wall that is incoming. Here's what I suggest we do to avoid the concrete wall. And oh, by the way, we just hit the concrete wall. Now what? And as long as you're there with them the entire step of the way, I always preface it by saying, I have something you don't want to hear. I have something to tell you that you do not want to hear right now. And then I say, comma, are you ready for me to tell you? I'm asking my client permission to give them probably the worst news they've had all day. Are you ready for bad news? Yes. Okay, here it is. You can hear somebody's mindset literally switch in their mind. Yep. It's amazing when that happens. I ask my clients permission all the time. I need your permission to go look at Florida for you. I said that yesterday on the phone call. Aaron, I need your permission to go look at Florida. Ben, I'm paying you. Go look at Florida. And it was just amazing how that entire thing worked out. But it gets easier. It gets easier the more and more you do it. But it doesn't, because you don't want to hit brick walls. You want to avoid the brick walls. So I think for me, it's just another step with that particular brand that I've done in the past with dozens of other brands, and I will do in the future with dozens of other brands. But for me, it's a concept that works to say, listen, we're about to hit this brick wall. What do you want to do? Here's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and I think like the other thing is to like literally talk out solutions, and we literally laid out, 2 or 3 different ways to, get through that brick wall. Yep. Some of it means like deviating from the path that we mapped out to go further around it than we intended. Okay. Like it happens sometimes, but I think the biggest thing with it is I think just the communication and the expectations that we have specifically on that level. I think, and in line with the whole fucking show today, it just all aligns with, that's a conversation that started at day one. Mm-hmm. It's not, hey man, you're going to be selling, if you sign with me, we're going to be selling X cases of this by July 1.
Yep.
Because you know that you can't say that. Mm-hmm. You can say, hey man, this is what I do. Here's how I can help you get here. These are the things that could fuck us up along the way.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do, and it'd be one thing if you say, well, it's not my fault. Fucking Kyle doesn't have his shit together. Right.
Yep.
What does that fix? Nothing. So, and even with this, why we call it calling an audible, you call an audible on one play. It doesn't necessarily change the rest of the game plan that you have down on paper. So I don't know. I don't want to give everything away, but it's just one of those things that being willing to adapt. And that's where like you are a partner at that point.
Yeah.
Right. You're not just a vendor who promised them the world and then got exposed. Mm-hmm. And then now I'm trying to, come up with a good enough proposition that I can keep you on the hook for another 6 months,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So it's just, I don't know, like to me, that's fun. And we talk about it a lot, why everybody's not cut out for this. Like that's nerve wracking to normal humans, as it should be, you know, but I don't know. Like, I think we're just weird. We're like, okay, like challenge accepted. Like, let's go.
Mm-hmm. It's both equally exhilarating and, you know, nerve wracking. It's I call it walking a tightrope. You know, I that same call with a smoothie couple on Tuesday night. I said, I said, you have a dictionary in your house? She goes, yeah. Why? I said, congratulations, you and your husband are about ready to feel every adjective in that book. Trying to start a beverage business.
100%.
I go, everyone. And I go, before I send you a contract, do I have, are you ready for that? Like literally, are you ready for that? I go, you guys are going to, I said, I'm not overstating this. This is not hyperbole. I said, you guys will laugh, you will cry, you will scream, you will at each other. I go, if you're ready for this, I go, this is not easy. There's a reason that 99.9% of the people out there that are going to have 5 or 6 drinks tonight at the bar with their buddies and be like, yeah, I could make this. I could do this I could do this. This isn't so hard. I could do this. Monday morning, they call me, 99.9% of them fail or don't even get started. I go, if you're ready for this, because you're right, in 7 months, when, COVID-20 hits or whatever is coming, right? Whenever that hits and the entire staff of your co-packer gets knocked out by COVID, which is what happened to this brand, and you are delayed for 2 months because of COVID hit. When that happens, I can go back to step 1, like you said, on call number 1 and say, remember when I told you to look for the dictionary on day 1? This is frustration. This is anger. This is pissed off. This is all of those things today. It's launch day for this today. So it's elation and it's pumped and it's 100, as the kids say. It's all of these things today, but it hasn't been for the last 60 to 90 days for many different reasons. So you're right. That's how you get to partner status quickly, is by asking the hard questions, getting permission to do what you're supposed to do, and laying out a certain set of ground rules so that if everybody stays within the ground rules and you respect everybody else's ground rules, things are going to work just fine in good times and in bad.
Easy, right?
I didn't say easy. It makes it hard. What is it? What's the oh shoot, what's the line from League of Their Own? The hard is what makes it great.
100%.
That's my favorite line from that movie, Tom Hanks. The hard, it's supposed to be hard. The hard is what makes it great.
There's your title for episode 52.
There you go. What are we? 53?
52.
I always screw it up. I am officially 10 minutes late for a call that I'm supposed to be on. Oh man, I have Haven's last JV football game this afternoon in a very weird season, and it's you said it earlier about 10 minutes ago. It's rolling with the punches and being able to adapt, and it's the people that bitch and moan and complain that it's not a full season and it's going to be 36. It's snowing outside. It's 36 degrees or 34 degrees and snowing outside. But you know what? Find me more people that say, gosh darn it, it's pretty darn nice that our kids have an opportunity to play. Like give me creators and criticizers, my man. People fall into one of two camps, creators and criticizers. So there you have it.
I know what team I'm playing on.
There you go. That is episode 52. My mom was watching, which is always nice. Lola, Brian, everybody that was in, thank you. We appreciate you because we understand that you have just a finite amount of time. And even if you were here for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, or 45 minutes, we appreciate you being here. So Everybody have an awesome weekend. We will talk to you next week.
See ya.